Learn how to create, sustain, and scale up your print-on-demand business with the latest tips, guides, and strategies to help you start selling and making money today. Welcome to the Sales on Demand Show. And here's your host, Adam Schneider.
Hey guys, welcome to the Sales on Demand Show. It's episode 39. Almost 40 episodes in the tank, man. I'm excited. So, it is currently the end of October, and I gotta tell you, October was an odd month because it's not quite Christmas and it's not summer. So, here in Canada, we're getting like crappy weather, but then we get some nice weather. So, I mean, it feels like it's getting closer to Christmas, but it's still so far down the road that most people are not out shopping for Christmas. So, sales volume hasn't been, super duper high. At the same time, though, we're so close to a bunch of deadlines for sending products in for like Amazon, FBA, that really you're almost out of time if you haven't started doing this, and you need to get on it right away. So today, I wanted to talk about 3 popular print-on-demand items that are not t-shirts or coffee mugs. And I got this idea by looking through Etsy to see what is the top selling, what are the top selling items, and what's the trend like now. So Etsy is one of those weird platforms that you just cannot sit still and assume that traffic is going to come to you on Etsy. On Etsy, you have to go out and kind of just make things happen for yourself. It's a little bit less passive than I would like, personally. I have a full-time job, and I don't have really a lot of time to sit down and be mucking around with Etsy. I prefer the Amazon way, where I just send in a whole bunch of stuff and Amazon ships it out, deals with the customer service and returns and everything like that, and then they just send me a check. Although, they only pay you within 6 weeks of the item selling. So that is a big drawback, but it's certainly very passive, which Etsy is not passive, although you do get paid very quickly on Etsy, which is nice. And because of that, and because of the fact that I'm running out of cash to send more stuff to Amazon, I decided I should probably start focusing on Etsy so that I can tap into as many, as much quick turnaround stuff as I possibly can to try and get the cash flow up a little bit. So, went on Etsy the other day and I started hunting around. There's a really easy way to find out what's selling well on Etsy, and that's to just type in searches on the box and see what pops up. So you'll see all kinds of things pop up, and I didn't type in coffee mugs because I wanted to see what other kinds of items are selling that would fit into a print-on-demand model. And I thought, well, since this is the Sales on Demand show and not the Coffee Mugs on Demand show, I want to give you guys as many different items to sell as you possibly can, and I wanted to tell you which ones are probably more likely to sell than other ones. So, I mean, you can sell things like aprons and, printed spoons and stuff like that, but I don't know that the volume on those is going to be very high. Although, printed spoons could be something. It did pop up on a search for gift for dad. I saw a printed spoon, and it was just printed on the spoon itself that said Dad's Ice Cream Scoop. I thought that was pretty clever. Although I have no idea where you would get a spoon with that stamped on the spoon. And I suspect that whoever's selling that is probably just stamping it on there themselves. So that's kind of fun. So let's get into this. So currently, it's starting to look a lot like it's getting closer to Christmas. It's, like I said before, it's not Christmas yet, and the buyer intent is still pretty slow, but I've noticed a very, very distinct uptick in the amount of sales that I'm getting, which is great. I love it. So the fact that it's happening to me 2 months before Christmas means that Christmas is going to be pretty freaking good this year. And I'm probably going to sell out of almost everything like I did last year. So hopefully that'll get me close to that $100,000 in sales mark, which is kind of my extremely difficult goal. It's going to be a challenge to make it to that, but I'm going to try. And I'll let you guys know if I do make it to that. And if for some reason I don't, then at the end of it, we'll talk about strategies that I can use to improve that and finally get to that. But that's just me. So if you're a brand new seller, shooting for $100,000 in sales is not going to be your goal. You should be shooting for a couple of $1,000s in sales. And I'm going to tell you this, and I want you to keep it in your mind. I want you to know, if you are a brand new seller, this is the worst year you're ever going to have. This is the worst year you're ever going to have, because this is the kind of business that is very easy to scale and grow. Like, looking at my sales velocity from last year and the year before, I can see that I'm hitting multiple times higher every single year, and that's with not very much effort. The people that are really putting in effort are doing like massively better. And I'm talking like 5 to 6 times better every single year, year over year. And they weren't doing bad to begin with. But to improve that much, you have to keep on looking for the trending items and getting those items into your store, and particularly on Etsy. So a couple things that I usually do a segment of things to do this week. Everything. Normally I would have tell you what's trending, like, oh, hey, it's Father's Day coming up, so look for Father's Day items. Everything sells at Christmas. Everything. And not just Christmas items, okay? Everything, generic items, even the most generic things you can think of, things that would fit on Valentine's Day, birthdays, anything. They all sell very well at Christmas. It is not a very specific holiday. People will just buy things for family members and friends and neighbors and bosses and employees and stuff like that. And you should be just listing everything that you can as frantically and as quickly as you possibly can do it. Sit down, take an extra hour every day this week. Even if you've got a full-time job, make time for that extra hour to sit down and add 5 listings, and 10 if you can, because it's going to pay off for you. And it's going to pay off more right now than it would if you were doing this over the summertime. This is the time when all of your new listings are going to, possibly be exposed to significantly more eyeballs than they normally would be. So this is the time to make that happen. So let's get into the meat of it. I promised you guys 3 popular print-on-demand items that were not t-shirts or coffee mugs. And I aim to deliver. And I'll even tell you how to make each item more attractive to the buyers. Because, to be honest with you, I know the kinds of designs that sell well on coffee mugs and t-shirts. On coffee mugs, sentimental items sell really well, and also funny things, but they're very specific, like a funny mug for I use this example all the time, but police dads or nurse moms. And I'm not trying to, make it sound like you can't be a police mom or something like that. You totally can. And if you have a design that you think would work for a police mom, by all means, throw that up there. But the kinds of things that sell well on a coffee mug are not necessarily things that might go on a t-shirt. However, sometimes they overlap a little bit. Now, with these other items I'm going to tell you, there are different phrases and different things that would sell really well on these, and it is a little bit different than even coffee mugs and t-shirts. T-shirts, it's all about the funniness. People want to have a humorous thing on a t-shirt or something clever. Clever and funny sell well on t-shirts, and t-shirts are a very high top-selling item. They're a little bit harder, I don't sell very many t-shirts on Amazon because merch by Amazon just sucks up all of those sales, and merch by Amazon gets the Prime badge. So it's tough to do t-shirts on Amazon, but t-shirts on Etsy are huge. But I mean, if you've done the t-shirt thing, then you should consider doing something else just to kind of round out what you've got. So the first item I'm going to tell you about, and this item does pretty good with print on demand on Etsy and sometimes on Amazon, but they sell really well with paid traffic on Facebook or possibly some other advertising platforms. But I'm talking about necklaces and I guess jewelry in general, but necklaces specifically. So Gear Bubble has a sublimated gold-plated and silver-plated necklace that they have. They have a couple of different shapes. They've got heart shape, and they have a round one, and they also have a square kind. So they have each kind. They have the gold-plated kind and the silver-plated kind. So basically, what you're going to do to sell a necklace is that you create a design that is really, really sentimental, and it's got to be fairly artistic. So you're probably going to use Photoshop for this, and if you're not really much of a designer, you could hire somebody to do this. You just have to tell them what shape the necklace is going to be in, and maybe give them an example. To find some examples, just go to gearbubble.com and click on top selling products, and you'll see a bunch of necklaces in there, and that should get you started. Now, don't think that, I'm just going to copy the design that's already out there and make a bunch of money because someone else made a bunch of money off of it. You got to be fresh with these kinds of things. A lot of the designs that sold well in prior years will probably not sell well in the current year. You really have to keep finding and making new designs for this to work really well. And also, unless you are a very skilled graphic designer, which I am not, I can make print or text designs, and that's not too tough. But making these fancy, elegant looking whatever designs, I'm not good at that, and I don't even try. It's just a waste of my time to try that. So I pay people to do that. And I haven't done this for a while. I did this a lot last year. I bought a bunch of designs, put them on necklaces, and tried selling them with paid ads, but I got a little bit distracted by the fact that I was super busy doing the other selling things that I was doing. So I kind of quit that because I just didn't have time to manage paid advertising and Amazon and Etsy at the same time. So one other thing I should mention about paid advertising is that it's a lot different than what you're doing on Amazon and Etsy. So things that might not sell very well on Amazon and Etsy could sell very well through paid advertising, because what's happening is that people are scrolling through the Facebook and they're not looking to buy anything, but this ad comes up, and we all know that Facebook puts ads out. I mean, some days I'm pretty sure that every third post on Facebook for me is an advertisement. So, I mean, advertisements on Facebook, they're part of the background. People just look at them, but it's called interruption advertising. So you're interrupting someone's normal routine to try to get them to buy something. Now, that's a lot different than somebody who goes on, Amazon and is looking for a very specific item, like my gift for my dad. If your item pops up and they like it, they're already kind of in a buyer mood. So they might think, oh, yeah, no, I like that. I'm going to buy it. But when you run paid traffic, basically you're trying to get people to buy that have no plan to buy it. And because of this, you need to charge a higher price for your product. You're not going to put the price on the ad itself. They have to click through the ad to see what the price is going to be. But the key is to find a phrase or a design that is just absolutely, it catches their eye. So something that is sentimental and is targeted. So the person has to look at this item and say, I want to buy that for my wife. I want to buy that for my daughter. Or the daughter's like, man, my mom would love that. Or my grandma would love that. Or something like that. So things that sell well, niches like grandma, dad to son. Yeah, dads buy their son necklaces. And you know what? People have made a lot of money off dad-to-son necklaces. It's something you should try. Basically, whatever you think is the worst niche can sometimes end up being a really good niche. And you might think to yourself, oh, that person is never going to buy a necklace for someone else. Listen, don't ever assume anything about this business. Test everything. You could be right, but you could also be very, very wrong. So, yeah. Now, what else can I say about necklaces? I would say charge at least $35. It usually costs about $10 to buy the necklace, but you're going to spend a little bit of money on the advertising, and depending on, what kind of ads you put out, you may spend more money than the product costs. So you may end up kind of being in the hole, but basically there's a way to make it so that you're making lots of money. It's not something that you do and you start instantly making money. You usually have to learn how to do this. And the best person that I know who can teach this kind of thing is Will Hamerl at ppc-coach.com. He's not sponsoring this podcast at all. He's just a guy that I know knows so much about paid traffic that he's probably forgotten more than I'll ever learn. And he can teach you how to sell, jewelry, necklaces, whatever, using paid traffic on Facebook. So check that out, ppc-coach.com. I'll put the link in the description. So the second item that I'll talk about, and I'll be honest with you, I have not sold any of these, but I see them on Etsy, and all I can think to myself is, man, those things are selling. And also, I know that they're selling because when you click on someone who offers these items, you can tell what item is selling best for them by looking at their reviews. Now, I got to tell you, this is a trick that not very many people know about, but it's an obvious trick. When you look at a seller on Etsy, it's hard to say. It tells you how many sales they've made and when they started selling, but you don't always know what is selling. So you might see items on their front page and you might think, oh, that's the top selling items. But that might not actually be the case. They might have a bunch of t-shirts, and maybe none of those t-shirts are selling very well, but they have other items that are selling well. So you can't really tell what's selling by looking just at what they're offering. You have to look at the reviews. And it's so easy to look at the reviews. You just click on the little, the 5-star thing. It'll tell you how many reviews that they've got. So usually, unless someone's got 1,000 reviews, I don't even care. I don't care what they're selling. Because these guys who've got 1,000 reviews obviously know how to research and create products that will sell. And I do see a lot of greeting cards being sold. And with Christmas coming up here, I got to tell you, greeting cards are going to be popular. And they're going to be popular probably up into 2 weeks before Christmas. I don't expect that you'll find too many greeting cards selling, between the 10th and the 25th of December. But again, I'm assuming that. Could be that some people will buy them and they'll give them late or something like that. But generally speaking, I would expect that it'll slow down as you get closer to Christmas. But one of the sites that I know does print-on-demand greeting cards is called Gooten, GOOTEN.com. They do connect to Etsy. I don't know if it costs money for them to connect, but realistically, creating a greeting card doesn't look that difficult. It's basically the phrase on the greeting card is 99% of it. If you've got something that's clever and funny or sentimental, but it seems like clever and funny are the best sellers by looking through Etsy reviews. And basically they're just text designs with maybe a kind of a fancy looking font here and there, but really no more difficult to make than a coffee mug design with just a couple of fonts and a clever phrase. And you can test these designs pretty easy. It doesn't cost anything to create a design on Inkscape, or if you want to pay a little bit of money every month, you can use PicMonkey. I love PicMonkey. It's great. But definitely try that out. Try some greeting cards. I don't know if I'm going to do this. It's just something that I just don't know if I have time for. But it's an option for next year for sure. And greeting cards will probably sell well all year long, and particularly not just for Christmas. I mean, think about any time in someone's life that they're going to get a greeting card. So their birthday, I mean, that's a huge one. Birthday greeting cards, wedding greeting cards, Mother's Day and Father's Day. I think people are probably more likely to buy a greeting card than they are to buy a coffee mug. I don't know. That's just my suspicion, and it'd be interesting to see what would happen if he sent some greeting cards onto Amazon. That's something I might try at some point, because it seems like there's a huge untapped market there. And, diversification is kind of important, so I might diversify into that. So, the third item that I will speak to you of, and you must tell nobody of this one. No, I'm kidding. You can tell anybody. I don't really care. You can share this podcast, by the way, with anybody that you think wants to hear it. It just works in my favor for you to share it. All right, so item number 3 is throw pillows. Yes, those square-looking pillows that every woman loves to have on their couch, including my wife. She comes home with these fluffy-looking pillows all the time, and it's like, oh, look at how fuzzy it is, how fluffy it is. So these are fantastic gifts. And I know that there are several print-on-demand suppliers that make these. I know Printful makes them, so printful.com. Again, I'm not an affiliate for Printful. I'm giving you an honest review of Printful. They're a very good supplier. I've bought coffee mugs from them in the past and a few t-shirts. I kind of use them as a last-minute supplier if I need something to get to a customer like within a week. I will use Printful because they offer fast shipping and fast turnaround. But they are a little bit more expensive for the item cost, so it's not something I use as a primary supplier. Although with throw pillows, I would suggest charging a decent amount of money for them. I don't know how much, but I would at least double what the product cost is. At least double that. And then maybe throw in a little bit of money for shipping, because they're big items. They're, they got a lot of heft to them. So they probably cost a little bit more to ship too, right? And people will expect to pay shipping to get a pillow sent to them. They might want to have, a greeting card sent to them with free shipping. But a pillow, if you charge shipping, I think people will be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So throw pillows. What's going to sell well as a throw pillow? Well, a throw pillow is kind of like a t-shirt, basically. So clever and sentimental. And of course, elegant graphical designs seem to be the top sellers. But honestly, I would try anything with a throw pillow. And I would even try so here's an idea. Create a customized throw pillow where you take a picture of somebody and you put it on the throw pillow. And you could make this surprised face so that the person receiving the gift has this giant throw pillow with someone's face printed on it, and it's like making this funny face or something like that. And the person sending it is sending their face to that person as kind of this joke, right? I've seen this before, and some people have been using trademarked things from the office, like pictures from the office, to try and sell. I wouldn't do that. There is a few Etsy sellers that use what I know are trademarked images to put on throw pillows. They sell really well. But man, you're taking such a risk by using someone else's intellectual property. I don't know how you'd get away with that. Unless you have a licensing agreement with the company that owns that trademark or owns the image, I just wouldn't do that. So putting Nicolas Cage's face, for example, on a throw pillow. I mean, people do that and they sell. But Nicolas Cage kind of owns that, right? So I just wouldn't do that. Unless you know Nicolas Cage personally and you'd be like, hey, man, can I sell your face on some pillows? And he says, sure, go ahead. Make sure you send me 10% of the profits. That was my attempt at a Nicolas Cage impression. So if you like that, well, great. If you don't, well, I won't attempt it again. So that's basically it. I'll leave you with this handy tip. Basically, when somebody's looking for a gift and they're looking on an Etsy and Amazon, the item itself is 30% of the purchase. What's printed on it is 70%. So people are just looking for a gift item to send to somebody. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what you put it on. If it's unique and it's attractive and somebody looks at it and says, that is a gift that I'd give to my boss, my neighbor, my hairdresser, the guy that stalks me, the homeless man digging in my dumpster. If somebody looks at that and says, hey, that's something I'd give to that person, you'll probably make a sale. If not, the item could be a high-quality item, but if what's printed on it is trash, nobody's going to buy it. So keep that in mind and get out there and find these fresh items and put them up on Etsy. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks a lot. Have some links in the show notes for you guys for those print-on-demand suppliers that I was talking about. And, keep it fresh. Send me a message if you have any questions. I've probably got another couple weeks that I'll actually have time to answer questions from people. But we'll see you later. Cheers.